Also, for any of you quick to point out that I bought this bundle on my free-to-play account, I should point out to you that I have officially ended the free-to-play series. Not because I've broken any rules on it or something like that. It's more down to the fact that I think at this point in time, I have officially proven everything I've needed to on this account. I've got 24 tier 10s, and 8 of them are collectors. All of them are really good collectors as well. I've got a bunch of tier 9s, some of which are premiums and collectors. I mean, I've got 36 tier 8s. I'd say 30 of them are at least premiums. At this point, I have proven that you do not need to spend money to do well in the game. If people choose to ignore my advice and still say the game is pay to win, this or that, then that's their decision to believe, and they can have whatever opinion they want. But for me, I have personally proved to the community that you don't need to spend money to get premiums, collectors, or really anything. Just get a little lucky every now and then and you'll get some pretty good tanks. So with that aside, we are going to be playing in the Astron Rex. As you can see, I have indeed got the bundle, as we know, of 8,000 gold in my account. So I'm going to put on that camo. I actually think the camo looks really cool. It's obviously a Ukraine-styled camo because it's you know, it's got the Ukraine colors all over it. I think the camo looks pretty cool. I've seen it for a couple days now, because I've known it was coming into the game. So I am going to put my repair kit in the top slot, and then my first aid kit in the bottom. There's a lot of people that like to run engine power boost. I don't really understand the point of it. I mean, yeah, it's a 20% engine power boost for like 15 seconds, but I really don't feel like it does anything that I'll notice in-game. So we're going to equip this vehicle with semi-ammunition. This thing actually has a lot of ammo for an autoloader. I mean, 48 standard shells alone, that's pretty dang insane. This vehicle also comes fully equipped, which is actually quite nice. I can tell you for a fact, after messing around with free-to-play, equipping vehicles is one of the most irritating things that you can do. So at this point, we have the vehicle ready for action, and let's get into some gameplay and see how the Astron Rex can do. All of the recorded footage from my gameplay on Desert Sands and Vineyards, which were the two games I played back to back, are completely corrupted due to the fact that my microphone has been acting up lately. I don't think it's the microphone, I think it's the cable. I ordered a spare cable about 2 months ago, and I've decided finally, after having to restart like my third recording in the past month, that I'm just gonna see if the cable fixes the problem. If it doesn't, I'm gonna have to go contact the company, because this is quite an expensive microphone. That's the best way to say it. So hopefully there's not a problem with the mic. But what we're going to do is go over the 2 replays that I've just played in the Astron Rex and showcase the tank's capabilities instead of showing you live gameplay because, well, apparently my luck is not great sometimes. So, what do we have up against us? We have an ML 1, IS-3, IS-2, and a Tiger 1 in terms of heavies. Now that's good. The more heavies the enemy has, ideally the less tanks I'm going to fight on medium side. But they do have a decent chunk of mediums as well. They got the Nebulon, RE251, and a Leo. Imagine it was a Leopard 1, but no, it's just the tier 7 Swedish medium. With that in mind, all I'm going to do is play a little passive early game. While they don't have any mediums that downright scare me, because they don't deal a lot of damage, they do have a medium advantage. Well, I guess they did have a medium advantage, because this RU-251 thought he was playing like Go-Kart Simulator, YOLO'd in, and yeah, I took 948 off of him in 3 shells, and Yagon, I could have shot HE at him, but I didn't really think it was important. That tank was moving so fast, and obviously I do have a bit of like 200-ish ping delay on the EU server, so because of that, it's not really worth it to take risky shots when I can just aim in and shoot AP. So now we got the Emil 1. Obviously, these are easy. There's a 363 roll into his vehicle. We get a nice 281 and a final shell for 250. I think it's funny that this tank has the same damage per shot as the Carnarvon Defender, except this is obviously a medium, which features better mobility, pretty solid gun depression. It's got a lot of things going for it. Now, at this point in time, I've decided that I'm going to ditch my medium because I don't really think I can support him. There's a bunch of people camping on rails that I don't want to get shot by making my way over to him. So instead, I'm going to try and get a clip into the IS-3. We get 1, we get 2 shells into his vehicle. Not a bad chunk of his tank. Now we're going to reload again. We're up to 2,500 damage at this point. We know that there were 2 tanks on rails, but one of them, being the IS-2, has decided to make its way on up. I always get rather confused on why people grind heavy tanks if they're going to camp. Like, even if you're completely illiterate to the game and you don't understand how it works, wouldn't you think that being called a heavy tank would make it more of a frontline vehicle. I don't know. Either way, we're going to get 3 shells into the IS-2. He's dead, and we are up to 3,300 damage. You can see how autoloaders are still some of the most devastating vehicles in the battlefield. It doesn't matter what tier of an autoloader you're playing. The fact that you can store your damage over time in, 3 shots. So you take all this damage that you would have been dealing with high DPM, and you crunch it down to 3 shells. And you can deal these 3 shells faster than any other tank would have been able to in tier 8. And because of that, you're actually able to get these massive damage outputs. I think autoloaders are still busted. 3 clips from this vehicle is 2,700 damage. And that's really not that hard to do. As long as you have a team that doesn't fall apart in the first 20 seconds of the game, you should be fairly okay. So we get 1 shell into the Tiger, and we're going to finish him off with an AP shell. So just like that, we deal 3,724 damage. We don't block much. To be fair, the Astron doesn't have a lot of armor. But still, pretty solid result from our first game. As you'll see, the tank does pretty well in the second game, but it does do a bit worse, mostly because I just play it like a bit of a monkey early game. So we make 155,000 credits, obviously top on the team, and as you can see, not a bad result at all. There's a lot of people out there that think the Astron is a bad tank, and I do not agree with that even slightly. I don't think there's anything insane about it. It's not a vehicle that, I'm going to be like, oh, it's the new T-77 or the Borask, because obviously those are pretty overpowered tanks. This is not overpowered, even though it does have an extra shell and it has 900 potential clipping damage. The reason it's not overpowered is obviously because it's A, not very fast, it doesn't feature that much armor, its camouflage values are pretty mid, and while the DPM is okay at like 2,000, it does have a very long intro clip of 3.5 seconds, which means it takes a super long time to actually get that damage out. In the Astron, it's actually a pretty well-balanced vehicle, which is good. That's why I actually like it a lot. So we play a little aggressive early game, try to get a shell into the Kanonen. Unfortunately for me, it turns out the entire enemy team's over here. We aim at a shell in the T-44-100, and oof, that shell did not go even remotely where I wanted it to. You can tell that this vehicle's accuracy is not anything insane. That's another thing I should point out. It does have decent damage per shot, obviously, but that accuracy is not going to help it. So the T-44-100 shoots us in the butte for 284, but obviously I was expecting that. So let's see what we can do here. We got the T-32 in front, and we're going to aim at a shell. Shell misses completely in the open. Well, that's fine. We got 2 more shots in the clip. We're going to get 1 into the SU-152 and 2 into the SU-152. So not that bad, just a bit unfortunate that our first shell did indeed do what it did there. So we've blocked 540 damage and we've dealt 550. Not a bad result so far. Again, autoloaders are nice because even if you're low health, you still have the output of, a tier 10 tank destroyer. So let's reload and let's see. We're going to aim it on the Tiger 2, and again, you can see this gun does have some pretty sussler moments where it decides to just miss easy shots. It's not necessarily a bad gun, but again, it's not the best. Its accuracy is pretty mediocre for a medium, and while the alpha is pretty high, it's still a bit disappointing to drive a tank that sacrifices so much for the clip, and then when the clip doesn't actually do much, it can feel a bit disappointing. But as long as you play passive and you wait for your opponents to make mistakes, you'll do fairly well in the tank. We get 1 shell into the VK, 2 shells into the VK, finishing him off. The Tiger 2 pens me once, but that's obviously fine because we're going to wait for him to poke. This vehicle does feature pretty good premium rounds, as we can see, so I'm able to cut right through the lower plate of the Tiger 2. Just like that, we're up to 2,000 damage. So even though it doesn't look like we've done a lot this game, we actually have. We're getting out the damage, we're getting those farms. We've got the Tiger 2 and the IS left in front of us, and what else? Well, we know the Kanonen was somewhere near the IS, and judging that our whole team is kind of around that area, I would expect the Kanonen to just be hidden in the back. Alright, well, we see the T-44-100 still full health in the far corner as well, which is pretty annoying, I'm not going to lie. Nothing I can do about that right now, but that's okay. We're going to try and clip this IS, or maybe even get to the side of the Tiger 2. However, I still don't know where that Kanonen is. Oh, there you go. He's spotted off to the side right there. But obviously, I don't need to worry about that, as he's not going to shoot me. So we get 1 shell into the Tiger, and we try to get second one out. Unfortunately, the KB3 finishes right before we get the shell out. I mean, it's not unfortunate, but unfortunate for my damage, I should say. So we're up to 2,500 at this point, which is obviously pretty solid. We've blocked 940, and that enemy IS was only shooting HE, so he's not much of a threat. But unfortunately for me, that HE shell did actually make me a one-shot for literally everybody on the enemy team. So it's still pretty annoying that he did hit me with a high explosive shell. We got the Cannon, he's turning, not really noticing me, so we get one easy shot for 260 damage into his vehicle. And we're just gonna chill here. My enemy, or not my enemy, I always call everything an enemy because I'm just so used to it, but my WZ-110 shoots the Cannon in the upper roof, it looked like, and hit him. Again, unfortunate gun moment, but because of the fact that the WZ hit the enemy, so at this point, I'm just gonna leave. I know that I can't really poke the Cannon because he's probably waiting for me. I am a one-shot after all, so I'm gonna try and get behind the Cannon. I think that this is the smartest thing I can do, and it'll be pretty easy to get behind him, especially if he's not suspecting it. We can see the T-4400 did finish off my Tiger 2, which is pretty bad for us, because now we have a WZ-110 stock and a KV-3. Thankfully, I am still alive. We get one shell into the enemy Cannon, we back up, and we're just going to wait, because all we need to do is have one of our teammates finish him off while we've gotten him spotted. Come on! Somebody kill him. I'm not poking, obviously. I'm not even going to risk it. So just like that, the enemy Cannon's dead, and we got the T-4400 in front of us. I'm going to aim it on his upper plate. Get a nice shot out. Unfortunately, he hits us back and finishes us off. But you know what? I can't complain. We did 3,300 damage. We didn't block too much, but again, a pretty solid result for the, Astron. It's just a good gun. It's got decent everything. But again, it's a pretty average tank in terms of performance. You're not going to do incredibly well in this vehicle unless you understand how to use autoloaders. So that's something I should put into your mind. I think the tank's great. I really like it. Both games I made over 130,000 credits. Had fun while playing it, and I'm going to be messing around with this vehicle for quite a bit. So let me know what you guys think about this vehicle in the comments down below. The main reason why you should buy this is obviously because Wargaming's supporting Ukraine and donating all the money there. Plus, you basically get a bunch of stuff for donating, so it's a win-win. That's my suggestion. Hopefully you enjoyed today's video. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.